So this is the second of our week one screencasts. This is the third of our week one screencasts, the second in the rhetoric portion of the session. You'll notice that the rhetorical triangle, as we look at it here, is a little bit more involved. We see what we saw in the second version: encoder, the speaker or writer, and the focus of the type of appeal that focuses on the encoder is the use of ethos, or an ethical appeal. We have the decoder, which is the reader or readers or audience, and an appeal focused on the decoder is focused on pathos. It is an emotional appeal. And then finally we have reality, or the subject, the aspect of the world that the communication is about, and that the type of appeal focused on reality or the subject is logos, or a logical appeal. Okay, and then we have the signal or message. Now, this screencast is in a folder entitled Applying the Rhetorical Triangle, and at its most basic level, the rhetorical triangle is used to analyze the rhetorical situation and determine whether or not one is prepared to write the paper or prepare the speech that they have in front of them. So when a situation arrives that demands communication in response, Aristotle called such a situation an occasion. Okay, the occasion, in reference to the communication that will be made in relation to it. The encoder needs to consider several questions, and these questions are based on the relationships between the parts of the rhetorical triangle, between the elements that are part of a rhetorical situation. The encoder needs to think about the subject, to consider, what do I know about the subject? And then, in order to communicate effectively, what do I need to know about the subject? And after answering those questions, to do any research that is necessary to prepare themselves to prepare the communication. They need to know about the audience, and they need to consider what the audience knows about them. What does our audience know about them? What do they need to communicate to the audience about themselves in order to effectively appear credible to the audience? What do they need to know about their audience? What do they already know about their audience, his or her audience? If I am the writer, do I know what they're interested in? Do I know if they're reading this because they choose to, or if this is going to be assigned? All of these things would affect the presentation, or should, if we're going to communicate effectively. Also, what do they believe? What do they know? Where are they from? How old are they? Okay, all of these kinds of things. We need to learn these things as much as possible in order, the more we learn, the more effectively we can prepare a written communication or a spoken communication, a signal for a specific audience. Finally, we need to consider the audience's relationship to the subject. What does my audience know about the subject I intend to address? What do they need to know about it in order to understand what I want to tell them? What do they already believe about it? Are their values different from mine? Am I trying to change what they believe about that reality? So when we apply the rhetorical triangle, we are considering the rhetorical situation, that is the entire context surrounding the message, the occasion, that is the reason that the encoder will communicate, the encoder and their background, their knowledge and everything, this reality and subject, and the relationship between the encoder and the reality, the decoder and the relationship between the encoder and the decoder, how well they know each other, And finally, the relationship between the decoder and the reality, the aspect of reality that is to be discussed. What do they know about it? What do they need to know? If we answer these questions carefully, we are well prepared to begin preparing an effective communication for any given audience.